Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma. This episode feels personal, not because something dramatic happened, but because something quiet shifted within. I almost did not go to an event that ended up reminding me of who I really am. It brought me back to love, to service, to stillness. If you've been questioning your worthiness, your definition of success, or even the pace that you're running at, this conversation is for you. Let's begin. Welcome to Happily Divorced with Karishma. And I'm so grateful to be here today. And I cannot believe we're here welcoming 2026. And what a year has passed. And it's remarkable to me what this year is already bringing. It's already bringing me opportunities in a lot of ways. The universe is giving me clear signs that I'm in the right place at the right time. And there's this beautiful, perfect unfolding of everything that's happening right now. I had the privilege of attending this big event through my community this past weekend. It was a networking event, personal development event, a lot of sessions, a lot of speakers, and a lot of opportunities for learning, collaboration, networking, growth. And I almost didn't go. Actually, when I reflect on it, there's a few reasons why I almost didn't go. One is I had this belief, and I want to kind of go through these beliefs and dismantle the beliefs with you and hopefully help you dismantle some of the nonsense that you're living with, just like I've been living with. So, it's interesting from a professional networking piece. I've actually built my entire business without my religious community, without having any mentors within my faith the last, 7-8 years. That I've been on this journey of entrepreneurship. I've believed in the value of investing in myself with mentorship. But when I think about my mentors and my tribe, they really haven't been of my faith. So therefore, when it came to a networking opportunity, it didn't make sense for me to go because look at the evidence in the past, right? So one is what is the story that we're telling ourselves? What is true? What is not true? And what would it look like if it were true? We're only limited by our own perception and what we believe is possible. And the universe will always give you evidence of what you're looking for. So number one is I was essentially holding myself back, telling myself that these opportunities, these relationships were not in the community, and in a community of 15 million, you can imagine the level of BS that entails. So I'm owning it fully. Secondly, there was just logistics, right? Holiday, this and that. One of my good friends that I really respect was Karishma, professionally, get your butt to it and just show up. And it was interesting because as I was kind of navigating through the rooms and talking to people that I haven't seen in 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I literally met somebody who was a mentor of mine when I was 5 years old, which is crazy, right? So it was just the universe was bringing me all these people and I was just connecting and talking. I had the opportunity to kind of talk to a few people, what it looks like to network intentionally in a big community, what it looks like to hold your value and to unapologetically be, what it looks like to just show up and get out of your comfort zone, even when you tell yourself you can't. And I think for me, every time I say I can't, or I kind of take myself out of something, I really have to go back to what is it that's really holding me back? And there's always some surface excuse that we all have, but that's never the real reason. And to take some time to be with ourselves and really go deeper and say, what is really happening within me that's creating this resistance within myself? And for me, every one of those resistance pieces is really me holding myself back from who I really am, which is love, which is light, which is infinite possibility, potential, which is abundance. And if I'm those things, then you are those things too. And it's really coming back and aligning to our own value and saying, you know what, I really do deserve. And, I'm going to kind of take a couple of different examples today and I want to kind of loop them all together. So I've been doing this sort of energy exchange with this massage therapist actually in Dallas. She specializes in pain relief. And I reached out to her several months ago. When I first started seeing her, she was struggling financially. And I was I knew that my coaching would be too much for her to afford. And I was hey, I really want to help you out. I really like you. I really value the work that you do. And I really want to support you. Would you be willing to do some kind of energy exchange? And we set up an energy exchange framework for me to get the massage services and for her to get some coaching to really help her scale her business. And so here we are 3 months later, and I literally just saw her today. It was interesting because she had this idea of what pricing should be. And then she also had a realization of what it could be, because literally the PT next to her was charging 40% more than the pricing that she was. And, when she told me this neighbor's pricing, I was like, well, that already shows you what the norm could be. And she's like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that. And one of the first things I told her was like, what would it look like if you could? What would it look like for you to believe that you are worthy of having that abundance, that you are worthy of having those clients that prioritize you and pay you first and are willing to fork up because they believe in the value of you and your service. But in order for them to believe in the value of your service, you have to align with that within yourself and show up as that and believe that and emulate that. And on some level, she understood that. And it's been fascinating because I've been seeing her like every 2 to 4 weeks on average the last few months. And literally the first time we talked about worthiness, we just kind of added a few things to make it easy to check out, to change it from single pricing to increasing pricing by 20%, which is what she was comfortable with, and to start creating packages instead of single line items. And over the course of the last 3 months, it's gone from 20% increase in rate to now 40% increase in rate. And people are buying packages of 3, which means cash in her pocket today. And she was telling me what a magnificent shift it's been, because for the first time, people are like prepaying. Like imagine if you get a massage package of 3, your massage therapist is getting paid first before you actually redeem that. Not like you're waiting for your paycheck to come in, and then if you have scraps and you're going to book a massage. Do you see the difference in the belief system? And that's the belief system that she had. And so it's just amazing to see and witness, her unfolding and just the light on her face and the joy on her face. And what I expressed to her visit number 2 was like, for a business like yours where you really want to serve, don't you think God wants you to be abundant too? She has another job. So what she really wants is to have one income through her business. Don't you see how you can actually help more people by charging the right rates? And you can actually do what you believe your purpose is. And like slowly but surely, that shift has been happening deeper and deeper. And I just want to share that with you all of a real life example of this incredible transformation that's happened just in the last less than 3 months, which is freaking amazing. There's something that I was grateful enough to attend several talks during the conference. And there was one that specifically comes to mind. And basically there was several billionaires that were on stage, and they were all talking about their companies. And these were founders from like 30s all the way to like the oldest was a 71-year-old gentleman. And there were questions that were moderated, and they were talking about their experiences. They were talking about their values and what's really like helped them through hard times, like those values that have really helped them anchored in really hard times. And they were all sharing their unique experiences. And it was interesting because like one person, I think one of the questions that was posed is like, what is your competitive advantage? And it was a question that was posed to every single founder on stage. And just like most situations, there was one female founder and multiple male founders on stage. And that has pretty much been, the statistic in almost every room, every high net worth room that I've gone to, like a 1 out of 6 or 1 out of 8 is the percentage. And that was the case in this panel as well. And so the few people were talking about like guilt as a competitive advantage. It was really interesting because I heard the word guilt to make it, guilt to get it done, guilt to conquer it, guilt to succeed. And I was just like, ooh, like, when I heard that as a competitive advantage or as a driver, I don't know how you feel about that, but it feels really icky to me, of like guilt of like, I have to do more, I have to succeed more. And I really want to kind of talk about that, because doesn't you doing more, accomplishing more, succeeding more because you have to be more, doesn't that insinuate that you aren't enough? And I'm not knocking down ambition. I'm ambitious too. I want beautiful things. I'm totally pro like sales and pro, making money. Like this is not about that, but I'm talking about the driver. And if the driver is I have to do more to prove myself, to prove that I'm enough, I hope you can see where I'm going with this. And that was like a really prevalent, and then somebody else was like, well, I'm really competitive. I hate losing. And again, I'm not knocking any of those things. But on some level, I hope you can see that those are all pain driven, right? Like I'm really competitive. I don't like to lose means I'm afraid of losing. I'm afraid of being a loser. I'm afraid of being less than. Guilt being a driver means that I have to show you how worthy I am because I can't not be unworthy. And this is how I measure my worth, and so on and so forth. So it was really interesting because there was just wide array across the 30 and 40 somethings of some level of like, I'm going to call it for what it is, pain driven incentive. I hope This isn't my intention is not to offend anybody, but like just this is my experience of what I saw and I witnessed during this session. And then there was that 71-year-old man. And it was interesting because it's someone who's been in a lot of institutions and leadership work for a long time. Someone that I personally had witnessed growing up in the region where he lived and seeing him like speak in our local community. So somebody had kind of witnessed personally over the years. And, when asked this competitive advantage question, he said it was love. It was his ability to love. It wasn't his ability to master, compete, conquer, show you who's worthy, show you who's got the biggest balls in the block. Like that was the energy, right? It wasn't any of that. It was like love. It was, how can I love more? How can I serve more? And then he went deeper and he talked about his competitive advantage as his ability to be still within himself, his ability to take space within himself, his ability to go back to meditation and balance of material and spiritual, and his ability to incorporate each piece of guidance in his life and to slowly embed it in his life and his lifestyle. And he talked about his competitive advantage being stillness. He responded to that comment that someone else had made. And he said, every time that my ego shows up, and it's driven by greed, it's driven by guilt, it's driven by unworthiness, I come back to giving, I come back to service, because service is what calms the mind of greed and calms that crazy animalistic mind that I have that wants to conquer, that wants to do, that wants to have. And basically he was saying it was like a big humility pill to help conquer that egoic voice of greed, unworthiness, doing wrong. So it was so beautiful. Fascinating because this man spoke and I swear the room got still. It's like all these people were talking about what made them quote unquote successful. But what I heard was a different definition of success. One that was really based in love, one that was really based in service, one that was really based in showing up more simply to love, not for the purpose of making money, not for the purpose of growth, not for the purpose of anything else, but to simply show up to love and to identify like, what is the problem that people have and how can I love you enough to solve this for you? And how can I be that embodiment of love? And it was beautiful because the moderator of this session, who is a fascinating woman, and I really liked her as a human being, I had the opportunity to connect with her for a few minutes after this awesome talk. And I was talking about this man specifically, the mentor. She asked him a question. And the question that she asked him was, I have all this love in my heart that I want to give to the world. What do I do with all this love? I want to do beautiful things with this world. I want to do beautiful things with my business. I want to help people in such a big way. What do I do with all this love that I have in the world? And the answer that he gave her was exactly the same answer I wanted to give her at that moment. And the answer was, take all that love you want to give to the world. And can you give it to you? Can you give it to you? Because when you give to the world, you become the light. And then that is the light that lights up the room, lights up the hearts of people. Think of the Mother Teresa's, think of the Martin Luther Kings, think of any inspirational leader. And think of the impact that one soul has on a community, on a collective, on the world, because they become the embodiment of love and light. And that value of love and light is what transcends in every business transaction, every relationship, every partnership with your children, with the community, with the world, and you become the light that you are seeking in the world. You become the love that you are seeking in the world. The love that you want to give to others, you need to give to you, because when you give to you, you become the light, and that light can only be received by you when you give it to you. And I'm kind of speaking in circles, but this is the essence of everything that we talk about here. What it looks like to embody that highest potential, embody that highest light, live with purpose, live with intention. And I'm not talking about a New Year's resolution. I'm talking about what it looks like to be so empowered in yourself that it's not about people pleasing. It's not about accomplishing something for my children, for my family. It's really me unbecoming, right? Shedding the layers of the conditioning, the limitations, the lack of unworthiness, all these things that I've told myself. To come back and love myself even more every single day, especially on those days when I don't feel like it, especially on those days when I'm judging the crap out of myself, especially on the days when it's like, oh my God, I have no choice. I have no choice but to love me. Because what is the point anyway? And the world is this beautiful distraction that's screaming at us at all times to take away from ourselves and to put on the world. And I'm here saying, you are the world. What would it look to give to you? To connect back within the source within your heart so you can live your life from the space of consciousness, the space of love, the space of awareness, and to be that which you really are in the world. And so it's just beautiful because I feel like maybe I went to the conference to talk to her. I'm going to have a conversation with her in a couple of weeks, which I'm really excited about. Maybe I went to that conference to just share about Empowered They See. Maybe I went there to the conference to connect with this gentleman that I'm going to reach out to in a couple of days. But what I know is all of it was for me. Every interaction, every relationship, every conversation, everything that was happening within me, inside of me, around me, outside of me, it was all for me to help me come back home to myself even more in 2026. And so for those of you that are listening, I invite you to stay the course with me on this journey. You are worth it. You are worthy. You are deserving. And if you're interested in being a part of a movement of other women that too are ready to shed the layers of conditioning, shed the layers of unworthiness, scarcity, survival, and be that beacon of love and light for themselves, for their families, for their lineage, for their generations, reach out to me privately and let's connect. I'd love to be a part of your journey in 2026, whatever that looks like. Thank you so much for listening. Bye.